Hey everyone, and welcome to your deep dive for today. Today we're going to be looking at the life of Brother Lawrence, a 17th century monk
Yeah.
who, you won't believe this, he found a way to experience God's presence all the time. Not just like when you're praying, but like all the time,
Yeah.
everyday moments.
That's pretty amazing.
Like intriguing,
It
right?
is. And the remarkable thing is he was not some like highfalutin theologian or anything. Brother Lawrence was a cook and a
Yeah,
sandal repairer. So his wisdom really came from experience, finding God in everyday things.
I love that. And that's what makes this so relevant for us, even like centuries later.
Yeah.
Like if this guy, if he could do it in the middle of the 30 Years' War, maybe there's hope for us in our crazy world.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
today we're going to be looking at the practice of the presence of God. And this is a collection of Brother Lawrence's letters and conversations that were collected after his death, which is pretty amazing, like how these simple teachings just
Yeah.
kind of made it through all that time.
Yeah.
Then.
The thing about his early life is we don't know much about it, which is
But,
I think pretty mysterious. Like a fire actually destroyed his parish church, and with it, all the records of his birth just gone.
oh, wow.
So his story really starts shrouded in mystery.
Like a blank slate, kind of.
Yeah.
But we do know that he was born Nicholas Herman
Mm-hmm.
around like 1610, and eventually he took the name Lawrence
Yeah.
after his parish priest.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, like, how much influence that had on his life, like planting the seeds for this incredible journey.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to think about. But what we do know is that his early life was not peaceful. He was a soldier. And during the war, he got this nearly fatal injury to his sciatic nerve.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine living with that chronic pain?
I mean, I can't even fathom. But it's after this. It's amidst, like, the hardship that we start to see these glimpses of his resilience and his spiritual searching.
Hmm.
He even talks about working as a clumsy footman
Hmm.
and, like, breaking everything.
Oh,
It seems like he was trying to find his place in the world, trying
Yeah.
different things before he eventually, found himself in that monastery in Paris.
And even there, his path wasn't like paved with prestige or anything. He started as a cook,
Right.
responsible for like feeding over 100 people. And then later he moved on to repairing sandals.
Humble beginnings, right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't expect that somebody in such, like,
Mm-hmm.
seemingly mundane roles
Yeah.
could unlock such spiritual depth.
Yeah. And yet, that's what happened. It's almost like those early experiences, the pain, the searching, they were preparing him for something more.
Shaping him
Yeah.
into this vessel for wisdom.
Yeah, like a Lily. Yeah.
It makes you think about all the experiences we have, even the hard ones. They're shaping us in ways that we don't understand yet.
Mm.
But let's get into the heart of it here. Like, what exactly is this practice of God's presence
Yeah.
that Brother Lawrence became known for?
Well, it's fine. It's not about like intellectual understanding or complex rituals or anything. Brother Lawrence's teachings really stress this experience of God's presence continually, not just in prayer, but, woven into your daily life. He was cultivating this constant awareness of God's love, not as just like an abstract concept, but as like a lived reality.
That sounds so incredible, but honestly a bit daunting. Like, how do you just flip a switch and suddenly you're aware of God in every moment?
Well, he was. He was very transparent about that. He actually described his first 10 years as being full of trials and challenges. It wasn't some magical overnight transformation.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
So even Brother Lawrence, this master of presence, he had to work at it.
Yeah, he had to work at it.
Makes it feel more relatable.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of his approach. It's not about achieving some perfect state. It's a practice. It's something you cultivate over time with patience, with persistence, even when you don't feel like you're getting it.
Okay. I'm starting to get a sense of why his teachings have resonated for so long. It's that accessibility, that honesty, that makes it feel possible for anyone,
Yeah.
regardless of your background or your beliefs.
And the way his teachings were shared kind of adds to that feeling, the practice of the presence of God. It's not like some big theological book. It's a collection of letters, personal letters and conversations, compiled by Joseph de Beaufort after his death.
So it feels much more intimate, like we're getting a glimpse into his heart, his struggles, his triumphs.
Exactly, like having a conversation with a wise friend who's just sharing their journey with you.
I love that. So this has me thinking, like, what would Brother Lawrence say is the most important takeaway from his teachings? If he could sit down with us right now, what would be his core message?
I think he'd say that. Living a life of faith isn't about like compartmentalizing your spirituality, but it's about weaving God's presence into everything you do, like finding that connection in those mundane moments, whether you're cooking or working or just going about your day.
So it's not about escaping the world, but finding the sacred in it.
Exactly. And he really embodied that. He didn't seek fame. He didn't want recognition. He actively avoided attention.
So it wasn't about, like, impressing other people.
Not at all. He felt like those external distractions would spoil everything. His focus was purely on cultivating that inner connection with God.
Okay.
And he dedicated himself to this for 40 years.
40 years.
40 years.
That's remarkable. But did he approach it like a strict self-denying practice?
Surprisingly, he didn't. Everyone says he was known for his joyful spirit.
Yeah.
And his unwavering inner peace he saw every moment. As a fresh start, a new opportunity to love God.
Okay, now I'm really curious. How did he actually live this out? What did a typical day look like for him?
Well, we don't have a minute-by-minute breakdown or anything, but we do get these glimpses from his letters, and they really paint a picture. He often talks about his work in the kitchen as a form of prayer.
So it wasn't just about, like, getting the food prepped. It was a spiritual experience.
Exactly. He saw every task, no matter how mundane, as a chance to connect with the divine. Chopping vegetables, washing dishes. It all became a form of communion with God. He even said there were times when he felt closer to God in the busyness of the kitchen than during formal prayer.
That's wild. It's so counterintuitive. We think we need, like, quiet and solitude
Yeah.
to connect spiritually.
Right. But Brother Lawrence found that inner stillness amidst all the hustle and bustle. It wasn't about the external environment being silent. It was about cultivating this inner peace that goes beyond circumstances.
It's not about escaping the world, but changing how we experience it.
Precisely. It's about finding that sacredness in the everyday. He talks about savoring the beauty around him, appreciating the simple things. It wasn't just about chores. It was about being present in each moment.
So did he have any specific techniques for doing that? Because, like, being present is easier said than done.
He did. He really stressed the importance of intention, like starting each day with this conscious decision to live in God's presence. And then throughout the day, just kind of turning your heart towards God, no matter what you're doing, like the silent conversation with the divine.
So not like emptying your mind completely, but more like directing your attention.
Yes. Cultivating that awareness
Yeah.
of God's presence. Amongst all the thoughts and activities, he encouraged people to offer up their work, their joys, their struggle, everything to God.
Okay, so it's less like an obligation and more like a loving relationship. Like you're sharing your day with someone who cares.
Yeah.
I like that.
Absolutely. That's the heart of his approach. Love and gratitude. He didn't see God's presence as something to be earned or feared, but as a gift to be cherished.
Okay, so all this sounds beautiful in theory, but did it actually work? Did living this way make Brother Lawrence, like, happier or more peaceful?
Well, by all accounts, he was known for his joyful spirit and this deep inner peace. Of course, he wasn't immune to challenges, but he faced them. With this remarkable sense of calm, he found contentment in those humble tasks, seeing them as acts of service to God.
It's so inspiring to think that someone living so long ago, in such different circumstances, could offer us such, like, timeless wisdom.
It really is, and it speaks to the universality of these spiritual truths. They just transcend time and place. Brother Lawrence's teachings remind us that path to peace and connection. It's not some distant goal. It's available right here, right now.
That's a powerful message. So what about his legacy? How have his teachings impacted others over the centuries?
His writings have touched so many lives, from everyday people to renowned spiritual teachers. And his message continues to resonate because it addresses this fundamental human longing, the desire to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
It's amazing to think that a humble monk working in a kitchen and a sandal shop could have such a lasting impact.
It really speaks to the power of lived experience. Brother Lawrence didn't just talk about God's presence, he embodied it. And that authenticity just shines through in his words.
His story reminds us that holiness isn't just for saints and mystics. It's something we can all cultivate in our everyday lives, no matter our circumstances.
But it makes me wonder, if Brother Lawrence were alive today, what would he make of our modern world? With all of our distractions, our technology, could we still practice his teachings effectively?
That's a great question. On the one hand, our modern lives, with all the distractions and the demands, they seem like the opposite of what Brother Lawrence was talking about. We're just bombarded with information and notifications and pressures that pull us in a million directions.
It's so true. I feel like I'm tethered to my phone half the time. It's like
Yeah.
a monumental effort to just disconnect for a few minutes. But this is where I think we can find hope, remember. How Brother Lawrence found God in the busyness of the kitchen. He didn't need external quiet. He cultivated that inner stillness that allowed him to connect with the divine, even in the chaos. And I think that's something we can all learn from.
So it's not about changing our environment so much as changing our inner state.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that inner peace that transcends our circumstances. And that's where I think Brother Lawrence's teachings become even more relevant today. He's giving us a path to finding peace and purpose, not by escaping the world,
Yeah.
but by transforming our experience of it.
So how would he apply his principles to like our modern distractions? Would we find him scrolling through social media, trying to find God in a meme?
Huh. I doubt that's how he would spend his time. But I think he would encourage us to be mindful of how we use technology, to ask ourselves, is this connecting me to something deeper, to myself, to others? Or is it pulling me away from what really matters?
That's a good point. It's not about demonizing technology,
Right.
but about using it consciously.
Exactly. And I think he'd also remind us about the importance of creating space in our lives for silence and reflection. Maybe not in a monastery, but in nature. Or even just by taking a few minutes to disconnect from our devices and tune into our breath, our senses, the present moment.
Those moments of stillness
Yeah,
are so vital, even if they're just small pockets amidst the busyness.
absolutely. And it's important to remember that Brother Lawrence's practice wasn't about achieving some perfect state of enlightenment. It was about accepting ourselves as we are, imperfections and all, and offering up our lives to God with love and
Good.
gratitude.
That's really freeing. Like, we don't have to have it all figured out to connect with the divine.
Exactly. And that's the enduring beauty of his message. It's a reminder that God's presence is always there, no matter where we are, what we're doing, or how messy our lives might feel.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the life and teachings of Brother Lawrence, what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away?
I hope they feel inspired to explore the practice of God's presence in their own lives, to remember that finding peace and purpose isn't about escaping the world, but about transforming our experience of it, moment by moment.
Beautifully said. And who knows, maybe they'll even find a little bit of Brother Lawrence in their own kitchens,
Right.
their own workplaces, their own everyday lives. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.